Right, good evening, and thanks for clicking on to the Tuesday, the 10th of December edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Before we continue with the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. This is the temperature anomalies through the first 10 days of the month, according to the CDAS 0.5 data. We are running slightly below average across northern UK, but the bulk of the British Isles is actually slightly warmer than average. In fact, a good bit warmer than average. We've got high pressure in control across the northern UK, and what that's doing is we've got the clear settled conditions across the north. We had sunshine, patches of fog. Where the fog lingered, we had sub-freezing highs during the course of today, where the sun was shining, and when you were experiencing that sunshine, temperatures 2-3 Celsius, but in shelter, again, sub-freezing throughout the course of the day. But further south over the UK, you notice here where the winds are a little bit more brisk out of the east-northeast, we've actually seen temperatures slightly warmer, and you can see that quite nicely reflected in the current temperatures of MJO seal. Bitterly cold night already setting in across the far north. We've got double digits below freezing according to the Highland Weather Network, but some big contrasts even across the north. We've got the as warm as 7.2 at Stornoway, 0 at the Altnahara, minus 3.5 at the local Skarnock, but we're down already to minus 6.4 at Aviemore. And like I said, according to the Highland Weather Network, you can see the temperatures are already double digits below freezing at the time of recording, which is nearly 5:30 in the evening. But big contrasts actually. While we've got a minus 10.1 around the Duffel area near Carr Bridge, we're actually sitting on 9.7 up in the Shetland Isles, which is rather interesting. But going back to the UK, according to MJO seal, and we've got 5s, 6s and 7s quite widely, even a few spots at 8 Celsius. Ireland, again, an island of contrast. We've got 0 in Western Northern Ireland versus 6 and 7 Celsius down across the south of the island. Through the central belt, I'm assuming fog has been lingering here through a good part of the day as expected, and with that fog locking in that cold air after a chilly night, temperatures do not recover at this time of the year. But yeah, an interesting one. So we're obviously running, with the exceptions of north of the central belt, we're running warmer than average across the majority of UK. It's average over Ireland and Northern Ireland. The majority of mainland Europe is warmer than average. And over the next 5 days, we have got a contrast. We've got below average across Ireland and Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, but notice we've still got warmer than average. This is the 5-day increment, by the way, so this is the period between the 10th through the 15th of December. And then as we play through this loop, now the GFS, this latest run is still uploading, so it only takes you out the day 5 through 9, but we're turning warmer than average. And this is coinciding with the MJO phase 4 into 5. The NAO is expected to go positive here. We are firmly negative at the moment, as can be seen here, but we are expected to go positive, and it looks as if it's going to remain positive according to the latest of the GFS ensemble. You also look at the AO also, and we go from negative to positive and then back weekly negative, which is quite interesting. But I've got a couple of concerns now starting to show up here, as the MJO is expected to kind of fizzle. It's in a firm phase 5 at the moment here, and we've got obviously this high pressure across the northern UK. It's starting to very slightly weaken, but it's still over 1040 millibars. But the heights are starting to very, very gradually start to come down here. So we've still got these cold days and very cold nights across the north, milder with cloud cover and breeze. That's keeping the temperatures above the freezing mark, both by day as well as by night. That should start to change, by the way, as the high starts to kind of build further south. We should start to weaken these east-northeasterly winds, and we should, with clear skies, see temperatures coming down further south in the coming nights to come. But here at Marvogan Weather HQ, we're sitting at minus 2.6, sorry. But according to the Highland Weather Network, the latest temperature is minus 10.1 at the moment. But like I said, I shared a little bit of concern here that perhaps the MJO fades in phase 6, which is quite a high pressure dominated pattern for UK and the near continent. If you look at the latest off the GFS ensemble here for the upper chart, you can see that the model is sniffing out a kind of high pressure dominated setup here. Now at the moment it's looking like this banana shaped high across the top. We've got this cut off trough over Iberia at the moment. Play through the loop here and you can see that high pressure generally is in control of not just mainland Europe but across the UK as well as Ireland. This is a relatively mild setup, but what may reinforce this mild all the way through Christmas and New Year, by the way, is the fact that the mean zonal winds surrounding the polar vortex. Now, the latest of the ECM, as I've said before, the stronger these winds, the stronger the polar vortex, the milder the pattern generally tends to be within the middle latitudes, including our part of the world. The weaker these winds, the greater the chance that you've got the cold air getting drained south out of the pole towards the equator. Now, at the moment, we're sitting on record strong mean zonal winds. It's expected to kind of gradually come down back towards the climatological average. So neither strong, neither weak. It's going to be close to average as we move towards the 20th, close to Christmas, actually. So one thing that I'm taking home from this is that the modelling is now starting to slightly back off any kind of potentially major stratospheric warming towards the Christmas period here. This is obviously one model run, but I want to show you another run that is rather interesting as well. Now, looking at the latest of the GFS operational, this is the current 10 HPA temperature anomaly, and you can see a lot of blues on this chart over top of the northern hemisphere. That represents colder than average temperatures within the stratosphere. Now, as we play through this loop, you can see here that we maintain this cold theme, but notice the warming starting to show up over Asia, and quite a notable warming over Asia, over Europe, with increasing cold over North America here. So there is an opportunity, I think, with this to see a bit of cross-polar flow and Arctic outbreaks in the eastern portions of North America here. Continue to play through this here. You can see the warming, you can see the pressure that's being put in the polar vortex here. But is it really going to do anything significant later down the road? That is going to be the question that I'm asking here. If we look at the actual temperature and heights, this is the current situation. So we've got the temperatures around the minus 92, minus 93 Celsius at the 10 millibar level, the upper levels of the stratosphere. Play through this loop here. We maintain a strong PV. We've got temperatures at the core well into the upper minus 80s. There's that warming starting to show up over Asia. Continue to play through. It's the orientation of the warming and the displacement of the polar vortex that is slightly concerning me in terms of the prospects of something 2013, 2014-esque. In other words, yes, we get a stretched polar vortex, a weakened polar vortex, but it favours North America more than Western Europe. And that is something that I'm not necessarily saying that we throw in the towel to winter anything significant in the foreseeable future. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I have to go with my gut. I have to go with what I'm seeing, and it's not looking overly enthusiastic in terms of anything major, even towards Christmas. I think I did say in the winter forecast that I thought we would possibly see something, possibly an MJO rotation towards the cold phases around the 20th of December, but there was a small opportunity that it would just be too little too late in terms of Christmas, New Year period, for example. But looking at the 50 millibar levels, this is the lower portions of the stratosphere, and this is more important, I think, because I think what's going on within the lower stratosphere has a better reflection underneath within the troposphere where our weather resides, and generally there can be quite a good mirror image or reflection between lower strat and the trope. And if we play the current situation here, we've got quite a lot of negative heights over the Arctic region here at the moment. If we play through to a week from now, given what we're seeing within the upper levels of the stratosphere, so that warming taking place over Asia, if we look at the, this is out to 10 days from now, and we're actually seeing quite a strengthening of the lower stratospheric polar vortex here. That is not a particularly great look based on what I'm seeing here for the longer term pattern. So let's go all the way out to 384 hours, and we don't have a particularly great look in terms of the 50 millibar level. So this is something that we need to keep a close eye on. If you look at the DWD model here, this is quite interesting. It was quite bullish in terms of seeing weak mean zonal winds through the latter half of December, through the heart of winter. But its latest runs, I'm trying to pull up the old run. So that was for November, which showed weakening of the mean zonal winds through the month of December. But the latest run is actually going the opposite way. You can see here that it's at the record-breaking levels at the moment in terms of the strength of the mean zonal wind. But the blue line is the ensemble mean for the DWD model. This is the German model. The black line is climatological average. And you notice here that the blue line, the ensemble mean versus the climatological average, it stays above that line. That is showing a stronger than normal mean zonal wind within the stratosphere through the course of the winter season. That is quite a big flip from what the model showed last month and the previous month. So it's actually showing a strengthening of the polar vortex according to this one model run. And obviously with the AO going positive, the NAO going positive, and the potential for the MJO to fade or kind of go into the null phase, which means less, it can actually mean that the MJO is stuck, the atmosphere is stuck in a phase 5 pattern when it goes into the null phase. So when it falls into a null phase, depending on whether it's a warm phase or a cold phase, if it fades in that cold phase or the warm phase, the pattern can quite often get stuck in place. So what we're seeing at the moment, for example, but yeah, it's complex to say the least, and I'm continuing to try and look at the big picture here to try and see what is coming further down the road. But I think this slightly warmer than average December is looking more likely for the UK as a whole. We may see below average temperatures across northern UK, but a warmer than average south, and then depends on how it's all averaged out. I know a lot of people hone in on the CET or the Central England temperature, but I always look at the UK as a whole, and at the moment, north of the Central Belt, it is colder than average. South of the Central Belt, it is warmer than average. And obviously, that blue is going to get pushed a little bit further south, I think, over the next 5 days or so. But I'm not overly enthusiastic about the medium range setup. Looking at the ECMWF weeklies and the temperatures for the next 7 days, according to this, again, slightly warmer than average, where you've got the easterly flow. Below average south and west and north of the UK. Most of Ireland and Northern Ireland is colder than average. Sorry. Play through this loop, you can see here that the cold fades. It goes close to average, if you notice. So it's not actually showing a warm signal. This is between the 18th and the 25th of December. Continue to play through, and it's leaning more average to warmer than average. This is the period now towards the new year. Continue to play through. You can see where it goes slightly colder than average once again. It'll be interesting to see whether the ECM and the GFS ensemble start to show that rotation back towards its phases 7 and 8. We'll want to see that phase 7 and the 8 of the MJO. That is the upward motion, enhanced cloud and thunderstorm activity over the Central Pacific. That tends to favour more of a negative NAO and AO pattern and a colder overall setup. When you've got it in phases 4 and 5, which is over the maritime continent, that is where we're at the moment. It favours generally a milder pattern overall. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Might not be the best for cold weather lovers, but I have to show you exactly what I'm seeing, and it is looking, it's more leaning towards mild through the majority of the rest of December, quite honestly. We are going to start to see this high pressure deflate over the next several days here, and we should start to see more of a high pressure to the south, low pressure to the north, more Atlantic driven weather moving in off the Atlantic, and we're kind of back to default position, unfortunately. So stay tuned, like and subscribe. See you next time with more. Bye for now.